Um, Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, the meeting of the Auburn Industrial Development Authority will come to order. We'll start with a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Vacy,
Here.
Mr. Andre,
Here.
Mr. Beer,
Here.
Present.
Mr. Cuddy,
Present.
Ms. Laura McLeod. Here. Ms. McIntyre,
Here.
Mr. Giantino,
Here.
Mr. Gravis, Mr. Gasper.
Here.
Who's representing the Hancock Estabrook?
Where's Rob?
Oh, Rob,
It doesn't appear that we have an attorney present.
Pardon me?
It doesn't appear we have an attorney present.
Do we have an attorney present?
No, not at this time.
Well, we can move on until such time as he's going to be required. So the minutes for the November 17th regular and audit meeting. Is there a motion, please?
I'll move.
Second,
I'll second.
is there anybody that wishes to add, change, or discuss the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstentions carried. Bills and communications.
For this
Cuban
month,
County Chief, pardon me?
oh, go on.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Oh, the only bill for this month is the Cuba County Chamber of Commerce membership, which is $275, and it's just a basic membership for 2022.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve that expenditure, please? Katie?
Katie?
I'll
Second,
when,
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you. And report of the treasurer.
The financials for the November are right behind the invoice that we just approved, the profit and loss budget performance statement as of November 2021. You can see in the left-hand column for the month of November, there was no activity with the exception of some minimal interest income. If you go to the middle column, January to November 2021, you can see that our income for the year so far is just over 195,000. The expenses are just under 50,000, so you can see that our net ordinary income, the revenue minus the expenses, is just around 146,000. We had budgeted a loss at this point in time, so you can see under that net ordinary income line, if you read that line across, you can see that our actual performance compared to budget was very good, and we've been talking about this all year, so this should not be a surprise. And I'll mention again that we'll be having there's a the second line under the expense from the bottom called contract services, usually 15,000 a quarter. In the month of December, or maybe as we speak, there will be another $15,000. I'm sorry, another $5,000 amount. But on top of that, there will be an additional amount due to the county based on our services contract, and I'm not too sure what that amount will be, but it will be it will exceed $5,000, I would guess. So I just want you to be aware of that. And the only item that's over budget is the last item, marketing and promotion. We budgeted $20,000 for the website essentially, and we've incurred $26,000 in expenses. So that's I think due to the maintenance of the website, some costs that were not budgeted.
Is this going to be an ongoing thing?
Well, I think we can talk about that. There's there are proposals in there in the package for this month, and we can talk about what would be expected going forward.
Okay.
So that's the profit and loss budget. No significant comments on the balance sheet. The amount we're still collecting for the pilots through the end of the year, and we'll pay them off when received.
A question for Danielle. I was unable to get the information I was looking for when with the county budget. What our contract services are what our cost is going to be for the upcoming year. Is that going to change, Danielle?
For the IDA?
Pardon me?
I don't think no, the cost is not changing.
Okay, good.
Oh, contract? We should be in the middle of the contract.
Yeah, I think the contract renewed, Jim, last year.
Well, I know that there was some questions when they were redoing the budget as to taking a look at that. So I was wondering if anything was done.
No.
Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question, Jim? Can you hear me?
Yes.
For Roger, this is Gwen. I just want to make sure I was hearing what you're saying. When you were saying, I think it was was the fee as related to the county, are you saying we should be looking to receive another $5,000 from the county, or are we paying the county $5,000?
We're paying it, and the typical, you can see on the far, thanks for the question, Gwen. On the far right-hand column, you have the annual budget of $20,000.
Mhm.
That's 4 quarterly payments of $5,000 each. So far, we've paid 3 of them through the end of November. However, the $20,000 will not be the only amount we will be paying to the budget, to the county. In our agreement with the county, there is what I would call an add-on or an override provision, which when the revenues exceed a certain amount, in fact, when the revenues exceed the budgeted amount, you can see that in the right-hand column, the annual budget was just around 50,782. Our actual income is 195,000, which is significantly over that budget amount. And therefore there's an add-on or an override calculation that's done as part of our agreement, which will increase the amount we pay to the county to exceed 20,000. I just was estimating that perhaps that override amount might be at least 5,000 more. I don't know the equation to tell you any more how much that override is going to be, but we are going to be paying more than 20,000. We did the same thing. Last year was a solid year on the revenue side, and we had an override payment last year. So, you know, the good news is that our revenues are well over budget and well over budget for the last couple of years, which has put us in a really solid financial position. And as a part of our agreement with the county does get a a small portion of that excess.
That's right. Yeah,
That's so.
that's what we were gonna clarify.
Yeah, so Roger, I mean, just because I was like, the CETA gets $20,000 a year from us.
Got it.
Years back, what happened was we realized like, wow, CETA does a great job at attracting business, and sometimes our income is more than what we would imagine.
Mhm.
So CETA gets a cut of that.
It's the $20,000 contract.
Got it.
Right,
Yeah.
this year, yeah.
So Roger, so just to clarify, because it can get murky and so it goes to the Cuba Economic Development Agency and not the county's general fund or whatever.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Yeah.
it goes to CETA.
Yes.
Okay,
I
that's
know,
what I
it's
was-
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, my goodness.
But
I was
what,
like, why are we doing that?
what Roger is explaining is that you guys pay a fee share of 20% on top of the 20,000 to CETA.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
take your income and your expense, and 20% of that is what comes back to CETA
Mhm.
in January, once I have the complete income and expenses complete for the year.
Got it.
And then what Jim had asked was about the contract,
Mhm.
because there's conversations about renegotiating that fee share.
Mhm.
But that got renewed last year when Tracy was still here, so we're
Got it.
currently in the middle of that contract.
How long is that contract, just for
I think it's 3
It's a
years.
3-year
three-year
Three
contract?
years,
Okay.
All right, I'm on the same page. Thank you, colleagues.
Is everybody clear now?
Yep.
Is there any questions further questions that anybody wishes to ask Roger on the P&L? Did you want to do the balance sheet, Roger?
it's the next page, and I point out a couple things. You can see that our cash position's over $300,000, 310. And you can see on the pilots, there's always kind of an interesting thing. This is a little double check I do. You can see on the final row of the pilots, A/R, which stands for accounts receivable pilots, you can see a number of 544,988. That's the money that will be paid to us. And then if you drop your eyes down to the second page, where it says due to government, you can see that same 544,998. Those two numbers should be equal. I think they're off by 24 cents, but that's a typical double check that we do. So
The pass-through.
yes, perfect. Yeah, it's a pass-through. We're a conduit agency, which is exactly the way the IDA regulations are written. Money comes to us and then we pay it out to the various locales in lieu of paying property taxes. So
While
I see Rob's
we're
joined us, huh?
on that subject, there was a clarification on the property that the new firehouse is on. The Seminary Commons, that is going to change. The amount that's going to be passed through will change because of the smaller amount of property that the Commons now incorporates. So, but that's going to take place in it was going to stay for 2022, I believe. And then in 2023, we'll see the change. If I'm not mistaken, is that what you read, Danielle?
In the minutes, I have it right here. I think it's gonna change in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, not 2023, just 2022.
Okay, 2022. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting my years mixed up. Yes, Yeah, next year, 2022.
I'm on. I'm sorry. I apologize. I calendared it for the next week.
We were just discussing the change to Seminary Commons. And that takes effect next year.
Yes, that's correct.
So, I don't have a number. Do you have a number for that?
What
Not
number,
right.
what number are you looking for, Jim?
What the new pass-through is going to be?
Right now, it's set at a little over 7,000 that they'll end up paying, but I can't give an accurate number until tax rates come out for next year.
Okay,
But
but it's going to
be
be
free,
approximately half of what they're paying through now.
correct.
Okay,
As,
so
as,
everybody's
as-
aware of the fact that
Yeah.
there was a change there when the fire department took over that property. There was a change in the actual pilot that was written. So we're all on the same page.
You can see you can see the page following the 2 pages of the balance sheet that you can see the collection status of the pilots for this report. And the ones that are blank are those that still have to be received and then would be dispersed to the city, the school district, and the county. I guess I just asked the general question, is there any issue with receiving any of the pilots that staff might be aware of? I can
Since
see the
our
2
last
big,
meeting, I have not received any pilot payments. Also, they have already received their notice of a 1% fee that will be tacked on January, if I don't have it by January 1st. And still nothing has come in. I've sent
Okay.
emails and a letter in the mail.
And that has worked for us in the past for those, to incentivize people, and for those that have exceeded their allotted time, they end up paying that, correct? They have so far, so it's been effective, and there are a lot of times there are latecomers, like.
We didn't have any last year.
Oh, really?
We had no late last year.
Years ago, we would have people just kind of file in at the last minute, but, you know.
Since we started enforcing the penalty, they have been very good, and we've had very little trouble. I can think of one group that was a little behind, and they were shortly after the first of the year, but we did charge the percentage to them, and we will enforce it again this year. But they've been pretty good since we started enforcing that.
so you can see the 2 largest amounts outstanding, JBJ Realty and Calamar. So I only asked you haven't had any indication from any of the pilot holders that they won't be paying? I mean, there's no indication of any issues related to them paying. Might be late, but there's an expectation that all will be paid.
Correct. So I did have some responses for some of the businesses. They said they was working with their office managers or their accounting office to get a payment out, but they never gave a time frame of when I should receive them. So I did remind them, come January, a fee will be administered.
No, to answer that question, Roger, nobody has approached us that I'm aware of to ask for any special handling as of yet.
Thank you. That's my presentation. If anybody has any questions.
The P&L, and we'll group those P&L and balance sheet. Is there a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Just second, please.
Second,
Why is this so hard? All those in favor,
aye.
Aye.
opposed, abstentions carried. We need to add to the confidential evaluation that the problem that we have trying to get motions put on the table with this board. Nobody wants to step up and move the motion.
We prevail. We do end up getting the motions on the table, so. It does happen.
We always prevail, Terry.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
Zoom makes it more complicated too, because there's like sometimes a delay.
Okay. Moving on. Does anybody have any questions on the pilot disbursement report other than we're already discussed? My expectation is that we will be successful as we've been in the last few years in receiving that money and passing it through. And Taylor they do a good job of getting the money turned around and passed through. So I'm quite happy with how that's going. Unfinished business, CETA staff update.
The state announced their CFA Awards yesterday. Out of Cuba County, there were 17 businesses that submitted awards. And overall, $1,409,372 was awarded to 9 of the 17 applications that were submitted. Cuba County Soil and Water received $29,000. The City of Auburn Skate Park is receiving $250,000. The Veterans Memorial Park is receiving $300,000. Equal Rights Heritage Center is receiving $300,000. The Stewart House is receiving $500,000, and the Village of Port Barn is receiving $30,000. The CFA is still accepting applications. There's still funding available. I will be meeting with a business on Friday to get their application in before the deadline, which is December 31st at 4 p.m. So we're still actively working with businesses. Also, Rudolph's Sugar Shack, we have a ribbon cutting this Friday. This is the 4th completed DRI project. So if you're around and would like to attend that, that's at 3 o'clock this Friday. That's pretty much what I have, Jim. I was gonna kind of give it to you to give the update on the executive director position.
Okay. We met, I forget what the date was, the CSS HR committee, and we've gone through the position announcement and made some changes. One of the major changes was the title goes from executive director to CEO, to keep in line with how that's being handled in most areas now. So we also have taken a look at all of the positions, there are the functions that the CEO does. We felt that the announcement or the position there's too much information. It was too finite. We tried to reduce that. It was over 3 pages, so it makes it very difficult when people are looking and they're out there looking. They don't like to look at 3 pages. So this is going to the board went to the, it's going to the board tomorrow. And then hopefully we'll be posting it and moving on with this.
Just, has this been posted yet? I mean, has there been an, how do I say this? Was there ever a posting for the executive director at any point since Tracy has left? Or is
No.
it kind of, so this is, we're at that point now?
Yeah.
Okay. Very
So
good.
just to clarify, CSS met on Tuesday. This is a CSS position, so the board approved it on Tuesday. The search committee is convening tomorrow at 9 a.m. And in my email exchange with Kevin today, the search committee will post the job tomorrow. And they're the ones that are going to be managing the interview process. And they will be pushing it out to all the outlets, but no, there has been no postings.
Okay. So
Yeah, we're meeting right after the
Maintain.
CETA board.
Oh, I'm sorry,
CSS, with CSS.
Cuba Strategic Solutions.
Okay, all right.
That's the umbrella organization
For-
for Chamber and CETA.
Gotcha. All right, very
So
good.
this isn't a CETA position, it's a CSS position.
CSS, okay, got it.
And it's going before whose board? The CETA Board of Directors?
It's already been approved. So
By,
that's why I was just clarifying with Jim. The CSS board is made up of a combination of Chamber and CETA board members. So Tuesday, we had our CSS board meeting
Got it.
and so Jim, as he was mentioning, the CSS HR committee met last Tuesday. They approved it, made the recommendation this past Tuesday, and the CSS board approved it. CETA board does not need to approve it.
Got it.
Chamber board does not need to approve it, but tomorrow, after the CETA board meeting, the search committee that's been created will meet, and then they're gonna take the job description and they're gonna post it.
So where will it, are we looking regionally, nationally, in the state of New York, where are they looking?
So maybe Jim can answer that question. The interim executive directors will not be part of the hiring process.
Jim, I'm just asking about the scope of the search. Where are we looking for this person?
I mean, where is it going to be posted?
Yeah, well, let me be more specific. Are we doing a regional search, a statewide search, a national search? Where geographically are we gonna be posting this for someone to apply?
That hasn't been finalized, how far out we're going.
Mhm.
We're not just doing local though. I know we're going to be going as far as the state. There's, I think we'll finalize that tomorrow, but my recommendation is we go nationwide.
Mhm.
Just to see what's available out there. It's going to be interesting how many people are interested in it. It's definitely going to be on our website, so that'll be, make it available nationwide just from that standpoint, so.
Is there an anticipated time frame of how long it's gonna be posted?
Well, that's all going to be finalized tomorrow at our meeting after the CETA meeting. We're meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And the expectation is that all that will be finalized and it'll be posted tomorrow. How long we're going to keep it posted, from experience, a lot of it depends on how many applications you get in.
Right, I understand that, but typically when you post a job ad or an opening, you'll put a date in there, please submit resumes by, obviously it could take longer than that, depending on how many people.
As I said, Jimmy, that'll be finalized tomorrow, how long we're gonna keep
I was
it.
just clarifying what my question was, so you can ask that for me tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that's part of the discussion tomorrow. So, but my point was that there are some variables in that too. So hopefully we're not going to have to worry about that, whatever the time frame we set tomorrow, we'll be able to follow it.
So Jim, I just have another question for you. So I understand the structure of how this person will be hired and that they work for the CSS, they don't work for AIDA or CETA directly. But for example, I've asked questions a couple of times and I'm either trying to figure out if it's out of line for me to be asking the kinds of questions I've been asking, or if my questions aren't being answered because you're just at this point in the process. I'm not sure what my role is, if at any at all, in wanting to understand the nature of this search. I just want to make sure I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to do, because I tend to ask questions about these things. So I know that this person is not our direct employee. However, if I'm understanding this correctly, this person will be leading the work of the AIDA board. Am I understanding that correctly? So the nature of my questions are coming from that space. So I'm just curious about if it's even appropriate for me as an AIDA board member to ask questions about the search. That's what I want to know.
It's certainly not inappropriate for you to ask those questions. And as I sent you back an email. I don't have all of the answers right now. That's a lot of that's going to be finalized tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to understand whether or not I was participating in an appropriate manner. That's just all I wanted to know.
I don't think that that would be the case. You have a valid interest and it certainly affects how we do business as AIDA, that person. So, no, I don't think that was wrong.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be clear.
Okay. The self-evaluation forms, has everybody turned them in?
I'm missing 2 people. And that is all.
Okay. Whoever those 2 people are, would you please get them in try and get them in before Christmas, if you would. It's mandatory that that's part of our process that we do that. So I would appreciate it if you would. And we'll be going over that. We don't go over them individually. We just group everything together and take a look at it and see where the people that on the board are coming from, where there's a problem. Certainly if more than 1 or 2 people seem to have a problem in one of the areas, that it has to be addressed by us. And I know that back when we first started doing this, there was a lot of questions, and I think that through the years we've got that pretty well in hand. But we don't want to ever be patting ourselves on the back and saying we're doing a good job. We need to know where people are coming from. So it is important to get those evaluations in, and I'd appreciate it, whoever hasn't, that they do that as soon as possible. Thank you. Board member appointment. We have a board member that has put in a long time with the board. I think has done an excellent job, and I'm certainly would love to have him stay on as long as I'm on this board, but Roger Beers wants to pursue other interests. Is that the right terminology? But no, seriously, Rogers wants to step down. He's willing to stay on until we get a replacement. I am working with the mayor, and the mayor's working with the council to fill that position as soon as possible. The process, in case you don't remember, is that a recommendation's made to the mayor, and the mayor appoints the person with the approval of the council. So having the council involved in that has worked out very well. I know Jim is actively working on it. So if anybody has any interest or know of anybody that has an interest that lives in the city, the position would be one that person has financial background is what we're looking for. Please send me their name, and I'll make sure that it gets to the mayor and the council so that we can move forward on this.
Yeah, Jim, I just, I guess the official reason, I just want to spend more time with my family. Isn't that usually the?
Yeah, I can appreciate that. They grow up so fast that if you don't spend some time with them, it goes right by you. So no, I appreciate that. Definitely.
I'm being a little facetious. You probably know that.
Yeah.
It's like all the politicians, you know. I lived in Washington for 10 months a year. Now I want to spend more time with my family. Then the family never sees them again. So it's time, but I've enjoyed the experience. I've also taken your lead in am actively pursuing somebody with accounting background who lives in the city, and hopefully that will be part of the group. So.
You know, that is sometimes it makes things difficult because the individual has to live in the city. So as far as AIDA is concerned. So if anybody give it some thought, please, and get back to me as soon as you can, and I'd appreciate that. Moving on, the TGW 2022 marketing contract. Danielle, do you want to speak to that?
So the marketing contract is in the packet, and what TGW has submitted to us is kind of a breakdown of their deliverables and the quantities of each of the things that Devin had talked about month prior, and what we're asking them to develop for the place-based grant. And this kind of breaks down the $57,000 contract. They are looking to start this contract in January, and it's a 12-month contract that would go through till December of 2022.
Could I have a motion on the floor to open the discussion on this, please?
So
So moved.
Second, please.
When?
Okay, thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at this proposal? It's in the back of your packet. Is there anybody that hasn't had a chance to look at it?
Can I just have just to refer back to, so the extra charges from this past year, that kind of we, you know, something like that was because we needed more assistance from them at some point. Is that correct? Wasn't it like a $6,000?
It's the last of December and January. So
Okay,
you're always gonna see a fluctuation in
Okay.
marketing because your bills are retroactive a month.
gotcha.
So when we pay it in January, technically it's for your December's.
Okay, so basically we're still in the budget. It wasn't like an extra.
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't an added expense.
Perfect. So they're in budget and we're good. Okay, good. That's it. That's all I wanted to clarify.
After reviewing this, you know, I understand that it's a lot of money. And we have expectations of what it's going to do for us. My recommendation would be that we move forward. It's a one-year contract
Correct.
and do it for a year and review it at the end in December of next year as to what it's done for us. Actually, we might want to review it at a quarterly basis to so that we're on top of it, to see if they're doing what they're saying they're going to do, and if we feel that it's money well spent. We have gone through the initial part of it. I think that it's only fair to us for our satisfaction to at least try it for 1 year and see how we do. Oh, anybody else, please?
Jim, I had a question. So I see that the total program cost is $57,000, but do we know the breakdown between like agency time for the creative development versus the actual media buy?
Well, they've given on the first 2 pages a breakdown of the different programs and you know what they're going to do.
Yes, I do see that
you want-
for
did
the
you want-
deliverables.
Looking for an itemized list of each of these.
What is, Katie, what exactly would you like to see?
So I'd like to see the breakdown of the $57,000 so that I can understand how much of that is a media buy and how much is agency time.
Okay.
So internally, we've had conversations about asking for an itemized breakdown. And TGW, I guess in their first contract did not do that, and that's not really how they broke it down. What we had gathered when we had done the 3 options, when Devin came in to present the 3 options, the 32,000 pretty much covered everything that's listed on this, with the exception of the last, which is the paid digital advertising strategy. Everything above that was pretty much that $32,000. So for that additional 25,000 is really kind of this social media and management portion of it. This is how we talked about it, but I can ask them to try to get an itemized list, but TGW to this point has not really given us that breakdown.
Okay, no problem. Even the additional information you just shared there was helpful.
Okay.
And then are there
Katie,
also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Could you do me a favor and flesh that out, what exactly it is you're looking for, and give it to Danielle, and we can get it to them and tell them we want it back we can make a final decision moving forward. That's something that we need to make that decision.
Okay, so you'd like me to send that in an email to Danielle?
If you would, please.
Sure. Yep, no problem, Jim. My last question was just if, I know that it looks like there's a portion that they're going to be doing lead development on social. Are there goals or KPIs defined already for that? Like, how will we know we're doing a good job?
So that's a specific Devin question. She will be the one that's kind of spearheading this and managing the contract.
Okay,
I think that's another question we can follow up and kind of get that answer for you, Katie.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
So, I guess.
Jim, I had a quick question. This is just almost going back in time and just making sure I'm up to speed. But when we first engaged the group for the website and so forth, I recall that we were in a range of 80 to 90,000. And that's basically where it came in. I just, was there, you know, maybe I direct this to Terry and other people more familiar with it, but was there anticipation that these charges would be forthcoming on an annual basis like this after the website was put in place, or is there some particular conditions that have changed from the original proposal?
So if I may, my thought about this is kind of where Katie's going, is that obviously the website is a valuable tool because it's kind of where everybody is to be pushed to, but having a social media strategy, especially these days, to kind of keep the currency of AIDA and take root in Auburn, I think is you know, just as important as the $90,000 website. And you know, getting to Katie's point, what we as AIDA want to know is, like, are we spending that $25,000 on, you know, how frequent are we going to be posting on Facebook or Instagram? Or, you know, I think it is a fair question, Katie, to ask an itemization, because, you know, $25,000 for 50 Instagram posts is different than $25,000 for 100 Instagram posts. Is that what you're trying to get at, Katie?
Yeah, and I mean, certainly I can understand that we haven't signed this, so they wouldn't have a fleshed out, you know, strategy. But I'm just curious, you know, to just know a little bit more about what they're thinking and how we'll know that we're leveraging all of the insights we already learned from what we did this past year, and that, you know, just making sure that we're spending the money and getting the best result.
Yeah, and if Devin can answer this, even, you know, if Devin can provide us with that information too, but if it isn't, you know, if it, you know, if it does need TGW's clarification, then I think it's definitely fair enough to ask.
And I'm sensing that the first contract was really about design, the design of the website, and this contract appears to be more about deployment, right? Am I getting that correctly?
In content development.
Got it. And let me ask you this, and so are they creating the content, and then Devin, who will literally be posting to Instagram?
It will be joint effort.
Okay.
So they have their deliverables of what they're gonna be posting. But then internally, Devin and Giovanni will also be doing more of those organic social media posts on all of our platforms as well.
Okay.
The whole idea is kind of working smarter in the sense that she's kind of leveraging this whole TGW team to be able to develop the content and then access all of their platforms. But then there's things on the local level that they're not going to do as often, where Devin and Giovanni can then kind of fill that in and do that.
And I think that the key piece for this moving forward is that we do have a way of measuring whether or not this is performing against some sort of agreed upon plan. And I think it's part because if you just look at the generations in this room, all of us have different perspectives and understandings of especially social media stuff. So I would offer to TGW that the easier they can make the outcomes of this for us to consume, the better it is for them.
I'm with you, but because I'm still living in the 20th century.
It's like I'm handing my 7-year-old where's my phone. But and so and there may be a business practice that they have that makes them hesitant to itemize, but I think that this is a pretty significant amount of money. It's reasonable given my understanding of the business that they're in. But we need them to understand that because of the generations in our room and our various places and understanding of how this kind of marketing works, that the more specific and clear they can be with us about what it is we're measuring, even if it's a dashboard, I don't care, just some way for us to understand that that we're getting a return on this investment. I would say I think it's in their best business interest to meet us there.
Danielle, when that breakdown is developed, would you make sure that all of the board members get it so that we could make a decision away from the table, each board member to where they stand on it so that we can move forward on this,
Yes, I can do that.
one way or the other?
Yep.
I'll ask you, I'm gonna follow up again, just to understand it. Can anybody give me I guess, an estimate of how long, I mean, I know that they've done a nice job for us. How long are these annual charges and arrangements going to be continuing into the future? I mean, will we need them annually in
Yeah.
perpetuity, or is there? Huh?
I can take that, Roger. So the way that I think about it is it's really like stepping on the gas in your car. So we do need to continue to spend some marketing dollars to continue to bring those leads and the awareness and the visibility to the audiences that we're trying to reach to attract them to Auburn. So there will be ongoing annual costs, in my opinion.
And we'll need consulting assistance in order to do that.
Well, I think we would, unless the new director decides that having someone on their staff to do that kind of a job that has this level of skill set is
Right.
an employee of either, I don't know who the employee they would be at this point, because I'm still confused. But, right, and so, Roger, in some companies or organizations, they have a paid staff person that does this work for the organization. In our case, we don't have that capacity on our team right now, which is why it makes sense to outsource it. And I would also say that the fee is comparable to what someone would be paid in some organizations to have this job as their responsibility. So I'm not reacting so much to the money, I'm reacting to that we need to see that there's a return on our investment, and we would require that of an employee if someone was employed here. So the long
Would you say? Yeah.
the long answer is yes, that someone, we will be needing to make an investment of this nature into the future. I think the business question is how we decide to make the investment is one of the things that we would want to take into consideration.
Yeah, good point, Glenn.
Would you say that the Terrapin is a visible result of the website?
No, I think we had talked about this prior.
Yeah.
Terrapin ended
Just
up
refresh.
finding me through LoopNet. And I think
Okay.
what we had discussed is a little too early to kind of determine if the website had any influence or impact. But Terrapin had found us through another portal.
May I ask, did you, at any point, did you say we have a website, if you wanted to take a look at
It's
it?
actually written into my attraction proposal.
So
When I'm proposing sites, for example, in the Auburn Technology Park, it actually directs them to that website. So we're talking about quality of life, workforce, all of that. So that's included in our proposal, but it's not, they didn't find us through the website and how to reach out.
So it was there for them to look at once they went to LoopNet to find a little bit. So it's not conclusive, but it could be likely that the website.
Well, you know, I don't want to split hairs with that. I'm just saying it was a mere 2 to 3, you know, just as a some sort of measurement. It wasn't that long ago that we were budgeting $50,000 a year in revenues to cover our expenses. And I was, you know, if I didn't know anything else right now, it looks like our budget, which was $50,000 in 2021, is going to have to be $100,000 in 2022. I'm fine with that. It can be whatever it is. I'm just saying that there is some additional expenses that are going to be attached to this exercise as far as we can see. And I just, want to understand that, be aware of it, and make sure all the rest of the board understands that we're going to the next level in terms of expense budget. And I trust that what we bring in, which has been just great in the last couple of years, will continue, because we're making an extensive commitment going forward. And I trust that we'll have the revenues, the corresponding revenues to absorb it. That's it.
Well,
Thank you.
Roger, the other thing,
That's why I said that I think it's important that we set up an internal evaluation process so that we understand what the ROI is.
I was gonna say that same thing to Roger, because I think I'm hearing you say that we also, if we're gonna make this kind of investment, we need to have some sort of evidence that making the investment is really doing what we wanted to do, which is to attract businesses. So Danielle, I think what we're looking at, we need to have a key performance indicator, right? How are we measuring success? But I think there also needs to be a way for us to know if a company specifically, or the role that our website played in a company's decision to come to Cuba County. And so I don't know where you asked that question, but I think if we could start to see that out of the 20 businesses that came, 50% of them would indicate that the website contributed to their choice, that would make a board like ours, I think, feel good about the investment. And that's what I think. So I think there's the identification of the performance measurement, and then the evidence that the website and this related social media strategy is doing for us what we're paying for it to do. And we just as a board need to see the data that lets us know that.
Yeah.
And if it's not, that also gives us something else to have a conversation about.
How we're currently tracking it, I have a prospect survey that I send out to any lead that I get, and there's a question on there, how did you find out about us? So that's how I know, like for Terrapin, for example, they found me through LoopNet. Because Devin is already very conscious to this point of like, where are we getting our leads from? How are they finding us?
So is there any evidence at this point that any of the leads that we've had in 2021 have that the website has been one of the reasons that they approached our county?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to connect with Devin to see if she has any insight into that, but I wrote it down to
Great.
as a follow-up.
Because I think just being able to show that to us would be helpful.
Yeah, I think having maybe a pulse in probably March timeframe of, if we decide to move forward, having a pulse from Devin and or TGW come in and give a little bit of an update, so we feel comfortable, early in the year, early enough that gives them time to move forward and do some of these efforts, but early enough that we can start to make sure that we are seeing some results and have a better feel for what we're getting, from the contract. And then to Roger's point, if we are going to see either an internal or an external cost to keep this up and going, realizing that we have to have a revenue offset to make sure we're not digging ourselves a hole, I guess you could say. So I see both sides of it.
Does anybody have any further discussion? We certainly be talking more about this. Hopefully we'll get some information here shortly, and hope we can get this put to bed by the next meeting in January.
So just to put it out there, we initially didn't think we were going to get it into the packet this month. So the first version that we got of this, the contract had read February of 2022 through January of 2023, just because of how billing and getting that 12-month contract. So I'm going to work with Devin to get an updated, more itemized breakdown contract. I'll send that out to the board as soon as possible, and then we'll put this back on the January agenda to get voted on in January. But just be mindful that new timeline is going to go back into that contract of February 2022, and it'll go through until January 2023. Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay, and it is doable then.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay.
Mess up your billing. from your previous question.
That's okay. Sounds good.
May I have a motion to accept the, just a minute. The, or to put forth a resolution ratifying prior adopted practices, standards, and procedures. We
So
have
moved.
all of the policies, standards, and procedures have been reviewed, and they are up to date. And so
Right.
we should be able to do this, no problem.
So moved.
Second, please. Second, please.
There are so many of us. Our parents raised us well. We're told.
Anybody have any discussion on this?
I just want to point out that when you look at this resolution, the audit committee was lacking a member from when Ron LaVarnway sat on the board and Katie McIntyre took his spot, and she was not put on the audit committee. Now that she has been here, we have noticed we've only had 2 board members, so she will now take that 3rd seat on the audit committee.
Okay,
Very good.
And on that same note,
Thank you, Katie.
yes, thank you, Katie. On the same note, when, you know, when we find a replacement for Roger, that will be their,
They will
they
take
will take Roger's place. So,
on whatever committee, on the finance committee.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything else? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you. Do any board members have updates this time? Okay. The upcoming events. There's ABO training, January 12th from 9:30 to 11. There is a meeting of the Economic Development Council in Albany in the latter part of January. Is anybody interested in that? Or interested in looking at the paperwork on it? What it's going to be about?
is that an in-person conference, Jim?
Pardon me?
Is that in person or virtual?
It's in person. Well, as of now.
Sure, makes sense.
Okay.
I'm able to send that information out if anyone is interested. I do receive the emails on that. So I can put that in an email if anyone wants to know more information in regards to that conference mid-January.
I think January 18th.
I think it's the 18th through the 21st, if I recall.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion on the floor to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next meeting, January 19th, 5 p.m.